Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Council on Monday the 16th of March. I ask you to remain standing and remain silent while we say the Lord's Prayer together, as unfortunately my Reverend Robin Trotter is unavailable this evening. So we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Please remain standing for a minute's silence as our Alderman Julian Mott, who passed away on the 5th of March 2026. Please be seated. Thank you. May I remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live via the internet, and the record will be archived for future viewing. Could all councillors ensure that when they speak, they switch their microphones on and speak in close proximity to the microphone? And when they have finished speaking, the microphone is switched off. This is extremely important for the webcast to ensure that the cameras will be focused on the individual who is speaking and that the general public joining us virtually are able to hear the web stream. Thank you. I now refer to the agenda. I invite the Chief Executive to give any apologies received.
Thank you, Mayor. Apologies have been received from Councillors Peters, Hussain and Simon Slater.
Thank you. Item 2, are there any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Minutes from the previous ordinary council meeting. I propose the approval of the public minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of February 2026. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Fitzpatrick. Now we shall go to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Confirm that vote is carried. Item 4, announcements from myself. At this juncture, I will now make a presentation to Councillor Dennis Fletcher. I will be presenting a certificate to him to mark 40 years of being a councillor. Councillor Fletcher was first elected on the 6th of March 1986. Councillor Fletcher, if you'd like to come forward, please.
Andrew said, could you just hold on so she can take a picture in a minute as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Would anybody like to say anything for Councillor Dent? Okay, Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Yes, Madam Mayor, very briefly, Councillor Fletcher is partly one of the reasons why I'm standing where I am. My old maths teacher, meeting up with him some years later, persuaded me to join the Labour Party, and that's why I'm here. I wanted to congratulate him. He's got real staying power. He functions really well, an active part of the council, an active part of the community. Long may it last. Well done, Dennis.
Would anyone else like to say anything? Then I will say something. Oh, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Mayor. I thought it might be rude if we didn't say something as a group of officers when a member reaches 40 years service. So we just want to say thank you to Dennis, offer our congratulations on his longevity, his evergreen appeal, his qualities, which are obvious, and also the challenge he gives to officers behind the scenes. Thank you, Mayor.
I would just like to say a few words as well. Councillor Fletcher has always supported me from way back, and if it wasn't for Councillor Fletcher, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So thank you for your support, Dennis, over all the years. Thank you. And would you like to say something now, Dennis?
You're going to laugh at this because I really wasn't going to say it. I'm simply going to say thank you everybody for your applause at the beginning there. It's actually been a pleasure. The whole 40 years I've enjoyed every single minute of it, even the minutes in opposition.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher, and congratulations. Item 5, urgent business. There are no urgent business today. Item 6, the annual report from the Monitoring Officer. I invite you, the Monitoring Officer, to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, the purpose of this report is to provide an annual review of the discharge of the Monitoring Officer function. The report is for noting. You will all be aware, councillors, that the Monitoring Officer is a statutory appointment under Section 5 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. As the head of legal and regulatory, I perform this role, and these duties are discharged in accordance with legislative requirements, relevant government guidance, and the council's constitution. You will also see, councillors, that the report refers to the requirement under Section 5 of the 1999 Act to appoint a Deputy Monitoring Officer. And to that end, I've appointed two. Mr. Glenn McCusker continues to act as Deputy Monitoring Officer for the Council, and Mr. Akil Adnan, Principal Solicitor, has been appointed also. In terms of our processes, we have arrangements in place through our Code of Conduct and Complaints process to respond to any breaches of standards, and those arrangements are working satisfactorily at the moment. Councillors will also recall the Code of Conduct refresher training, which took place last June. But in terms of standards, both myself and the Council's independent persons, when required, continue to give informal advice, and myself and the Council's Deputy Monitoring Officers undertake relevant inquiries into allegations of misconduct. This extends to Borough and also Parish Councillors. Since the last annual report in March 2025, there have been 2 standards complaints received. However, in the last week, and after the full council papers were published, a further standards complaint has been received, which takes the total number to 3 standards complaints in the last year. This is, nevertheless, a reduction compared to last year when we had 4. So we remain at relatively low figures, councillors, but there are other matters which come inside along formal complaints, for example, advisory and general conversations with councillors or residents about standards matters. But these aren't included in the overall figure because they don't actually amount to a standards complaint. Furthermore, as you'll be aware, no standards hearings has taken place over the course of last year, but in terms of the 3 complaints, 2 have gone to investigation and 1 is in its early stages, but in terms of origins, they all come from parish councils. In terms of the Code of Conduct, the Localism Act 2011 requires the council and parish and town councils for which it is responsible to adopt a code of conduct for councillors, and can confirm that all relevant councils have adopted codes. Moreover, all members of the Borough Council have completed their declaration of interest forms. Indeed, members are asked to update their declarations at least annually, even if no changes have taken place. But to confirm, no declarations are outstanding from our borough councillors. In terms of parish and town councillors, however, we are currently waiting on declarations from members of Kingston Parish Council, Leigh Parish Council, Mayfield Parish Council, Roaster Parish Council, and also Yoxall Parish Council. I have formally written to these parishes and requested receipt of the outstanding declarations, and colleagues in Democratic Services will continue the chase in the meantime. Looking at the Constitution, you'll be aware, councillors, that arrangements have continued to review and monitor the operation of the document. A full review of the Constitution via officers took place and was approved by full council in December 2025, and I suspect further necessary amendments will be made mid-year prior to the December 2020 review. Finally, councillors, in terms of the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act 2000, also known as RIPA, I would draw your attention to the information provided in the report. RIPA relates to covert surveillance for which authorisation needs to be obtained from the courts. However, and in summary, there has been no usage of RIPA across the council, therefore no authorisations have needed to be requested. It's important to note that the usage of RIPA is balanced by any potential to infringe on an individual's human rights, and therefore, if information can be obtained without the need for covert surveillance, then as a local authority we do so. We haven't used RIPA for quite some time, and that's the reason for doing so. RIPA training was arranged for relevant officers in December 2025, and the policy was reviewed early last year and is not yet in need of review. RIPA training continues to take place annually to ensure staff are fully appraised and aware of their responsibilities. And so that concludes my report, Mayor and councillors. The report is for noting, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Sankey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A very good report, and I'm pleased that things are progressing on the number of, well, not progressive, but we have less of them, I should say, not progressive. One thing I'd be interested, because I noticed two of those parish councils are in my ward, and we've had various correspondence on that. One of the things I'd be interested in is the length of time these cases take and the cost to the authority of them. And I just wondered if we've got any statistics of how they're improving or not improving over the, and I know we've got we have external people doing the various pieces of work, and I'm not talking about the work and the content. I'm just interested in how long these cases take and how much it's costing all of us and our residents to deal with these. And I'm happy if you take the correspondence later. Thank you.
I can answer that now, Councillor Sankey, through you, Mayor. I attended a conference last week by the Association of Monitoring Officers, and they say that each individual investigation costs approximately £7,000 because of the witnesses required and the length. Obviously, speaking from experience, it can significantly exceed that figure, but it depends on the specifics of an investigation. Length of time, it can be anywhere between 6 months to a year and a half, if not more. But again, it depends on the number of witnesses, the complexity of the allegation, and everything else involved with it. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you. Go to item 7 now. I now invite the leader and the cabinet members to come forward to present their statements to council. These statements are to be received and noted.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the written statement of the Leader of the Council. Not one of the most interesting portfolios. You'll hear much more detail from some of my colleagues. I know you'll all have read it, so I'm happy to take questions. I'll just go through achievements and highlight things that you may have picked up. Obviously, we have now undertaken the citizens' jury, local government reorganisation. We did, with our other councils, put forward proposals, got them in time to government. They're with government now. I think there's about 10 days left of the government's public consultation. So if you haven't responded, please do so. And we'll hear, if it sticks to timetable, we'll probably hear in the summer what the government's preferred option is. It's not set in concrete that this is going to happen, but it's very likely. All the messages I'm getting from government ministers and MHCLG is that it is on timetable, and they do expect to deliver it to the timetable and in this Parliament. Seen the improving our council's assets, normal stuff, enhancing the planning resilience, digital enhancements. They appear every year. Improving ICT appears every year because it's moved so fast. There always has to be changes, and 2 business as usual at the very end. Objectives for 26-27. We will receive that citizens' jury report. I'm assuming the consultants and the jurors are preparing that as we speak. I'm grateful to the Cabinet Member for Environment and Climate Change and the Chair of Scrutiny, Environment and Climate Change, for their input into that panel. So they did sit with them, and I'm told you were very impressed with some of the speakers and evidence that's been provided. So that will come back to Cabinet with recommendations, and Cabinet will look at that and consider it in due course. You can see that the monitoring officer will be looking at the member officer protocol refresh. Not been refreshed in a long, long time. It's certainly overdue one. We will be looking at our council's assets and the data gathering for that ahead of possibly local government reorganisation. So that's really, really important. Lots of work on maintenance schedules, improving our assets, and at this building and the brew house, civic function suite, lots there. Fees and charges are on the civic function suite. Just recently, a scrutiny committee has finished a review on that, and that was one of their recommendations, and we are going to review that, make sure they're fit for purpose, competitive, but got to be value for money as well. I think I'll stop at that, and happy to take any questions. If there are loads, can you have one at a time, because I can't actually use this arm at the moment. Any questions?
Councillor Allen.
So there's a target around condition survey on 50% of the buildings in the council's commercial property portfolio. There's another target around transitioning to local government into another council, and something around reviewing the council's stock in terms of, I assume it means freehold property, so that when that council, should it take over, we can clearly indicate what council property belongs to ESBC and what will belong to that council. But I'm just curious why it's only 50%, given the problems that we've had in the past, admittedly on multiple other administrations as well. We seem to have an issue as a council with roofs and repairing roofs. So why are we only doing 50%, especially given that we're going to have to hand over the portfolio and all the property to another council?
Thank you, Councillor Allen. 50% I think is a reasonable target. We might not even achieve that. We'll strive to achieve that. That's why it's 50%. we wouldn't have the resource to do it all. The other bit of, that you're talking about is gathering the data on our assets, make sure it is correct, we know everything, to have it in place for when we start to talk to a future council. All of the councils in Staffordshire and all, in fact, all other 14 areas in the second tranche of local government will be doing exactly the same. We have to have a clear asset base data to pass to a future council.
Councillor Allen.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So if we don't have the resources to be any more than 50%, perhaps that's an indication as to why we've got so many problems with the council stock in the first place and the maintenance issues. I've got a second question though. Citizens jury, there's a corporate plan target around citizens jury and says that it suggests that the council is going to review recommendations raised by the citizens jury. I'm just wondering why it was necessary to put that as a corporate plan target. Perhaps, presumably you would do that anyway. And there is another one linked that's in the environment portfolio that says that Cabinet will take forward recommendations once the considerations happen, we'll take forward those recommendations. Again, it seems a bit of a pointless target since you would expect that to happen anyway.
Councillor Allen, your first point was a comment, so I'll leave that at that. The second point on the citizens jury, I think the public and members are very interested in that particular topic. It's innovative. You know, not many councils are using it. They are very interested. I wanted it in there so you can see that where it goes next. If it hadn't been there, you might have been asking, where does it go next? Well, it goes to Cabinet for Cabinet to consider, and I didn't want there to be any confusion on that.
Councillor Allen.
On the citizens jury then, so it was a corporate plan target last year to consider, to allow the citizens jury to consider glyphosate. Is that the end of the use of the citizens jury? Is there no corporate plan targets? You mentioned, I might ask you why there aren't any corporate plan targets around what to do with the recommendations of the last review. I'm more interested in what the citizens jury is supposed to be doing in the forthcoming year.
Yeah, the achievement on the part of the report is not about what we're doing about it. It's about what the citizens jury are proposing we do about it. So that's that one. Your second question, no, there is no particular target to have another citizens jury at this time. Bearing in mind we might not be here. This could well be the last year of the council.
Councillor Sankey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following your comments that with your discussion with government that LGR is more likely to go ahead, and your indication that the response to Councillor Allen was 50% because that's all we've got resources, and we're, you know, what other areas are we behind on schedule in terms of getting things ready for LGR? Because as you quite rightly said, an asset base is a very important thing. We don't want to give away, we want to make sure that the right assets in the right place, whether locally or centrally. And I think, you know, are there any other areas that we are at a risk of a little bit behind on the schedule? Thank you.
That's quite a simple question to answer. There are absolutely no areas in preparation for local government reorganisation that are behind time, because we're not starting them till the government tell us which option they're going for. We need to know who we're working with to start planning together as a unitary. We can't do it on our own. It would be pointless.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just picking up the question on the citizens' jury. So there was a cornerstone of the manifesto that the Labour group stood on, and was one of the things brought in to improve local democracy, and also because of previous criticisms of lack of public engagement, lack of consultation around projects, and getting them involved. since taking over, we've had them deliver one citizens' jury, and there isn't any plans to bring them back, and there's an uncertain future with this council going forward with the local government reorganisation. Does that mean, despite the fact that there are over 12 months left of the council, we've currently paused or abandoned the concept of the citizens' jury, and they won't be looking at anything else over the coming 12 months?
Yes, that's right. I took the view that we're going to consider, as a cabinet, what comes out of this one, and I don't think there is enough time left now to deliver another one. Let me tell you, when we tried to procure to get someone to deliver this, it was very, very difficult. There is no one out there doing this at the moment. It's very, very limited space. So that's part of the reason as well, and the cost.
Thank you. Now invite the Cabinet Member for Communities and Regularity Services, Councillor Simon Slater.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Slater has had to respond to an emergency.
Okay.
As you heard the Chief Executive read out his apologies. Can I suggest that I speak to Councillor Slater and ask them to circulate a written report to councillors when he's able?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Could I invite Councillor Dennis Fletcher for Environment and Climate Change, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to bore you by reading out all the achievements, but I would like to highlight one or two, and I will mention the citizens' jury in my report as well. Picking out one or two, the high standards of street cleaning and waste collection were maintained despite the pressure on resources caused by all the new housing. 99.7% success rate under the circumstances is quite a remarkable achievement. Garden waste subscription was a great success in its first year, with the lowest charges in East Staffordshire. In Staffordshire, we continue to have the lowest charges, and this year already, by the 5th of March, 22,100 people had signed up. That's a slight improvement on the same position last year. We're all set to start for the start of the weekly food waste collection, unlike many other authorities in Staffordshire. Despite a last-minute notice from the company, it was to supply our 6 new vehicles for the purpose of doing that. They've told us that they would not be ready in time. Officers worked tirelessly to negotiate with Birmingham City Council, and they've ensured that we can borrow 6 of their vehicles in the meantime. In Bloom, as always, was a great success. 21 parks and It's Your Neighbours entries this year achieved 6 gold awards in the park section, 6 gold equivalents in the It's Your Neighbour category, whilst Burton, Uttoxeter and Winshill all achieved gold, with Winshill winning the urban category. All in all, we achieved silver gilt or better in 80% of entries. We reviewed the impact of using glyphosate and trialled the reduction of its use in Bramshill Park. As expected, we found that alternatives were more expensive, so now we have to consider the use of cost against its risk, and I'll say more at the end of this about that. We continue to address fuel poverty using the Housing Stock Condition Survey. We are engaging with schools and parish councils to facilitate workshops on climate change. We've created a new viewing area overlooking the Washlands Play area in Bass Tower at a viewing point on the Woodland Hub on the Statenham bank of the Trent. I know one of you at least will be pleased to hear that. Plans for Statenham Cemetery have now been approved by the Planning Committee, so we expect developments there to continue. Following the completion of the fleet decarbonation and infrastructure plan for Mills Lane Depot, we have commenced the delivery of a phased approach to developing this site, ensuring that it will be fit for purpose for years to come. Glyphosate and the citizens' jury. The decision, first of all, the decision to terminate the grounds maintenance project, the insourcing of the grounds maintenance project, came following a government guidance mid-year. Use of glyphosate. Because the use of glyphosate is in many minds contentious, and because to date there's been no clear-cut scientific consensus on its use, we referred it to our newly formed citizens' jury. As a council, we have a duty to protect the public from harm. We also have a duty to protect the council's finances. So in brief, it's about balancing risk against costs, and it isn't straightforward. So we referred it to the citizens' jury. And we posed one of the two questions that they might answer for us. Are there risks? How great are the risks? Are they so great that they outweigh any consideration of costs? Or are we able to minimise the risks in a way that enables us to make an acceptable balance between cost and risk? Although it's generally considered to have moderate persistence, studies have detected glyphosate residues in a significant percentage of the general population and in food items such as oatmeal, cereals, etc. We want to know, does the evidence for this suggest that this is only where glyphosate is used on agricultural land, or is it used in other locations to give the same result? Sorry. Finally, where councils use glyphosate to spray curbside weeds, is there evidence that the glyphosate persists in the waterways? And if so, what's the effect on the flora and fauna? There were a lot more than that, but those are the main things that we wanted answering. We'll wait the results of that with interest. Michael Slater and I both had to attend at the beginning of meetings. I had to attend at the beginning of the first meeting to welcome them and pose the questions that we would like them to consider. Michael did the same for the Scrutiny Committee at the second meeting. I was also invited along to the second meeting for some photo opportunities. And whilst I was there, I got there earlier, I was invited to sit in on what we weren't allowed to take part in any of the discussions, but we were allowed to sit in when one of the expert witnesses was talking to the members of the committee, of the jury. And I have to say, he was absolutely brilliant. He gave a very balanced view, told them what they should be thinking out, told them that depending on the evidence, you have to know who's giving the evidence before you give weight to the evidence. And I am totally satisfied that we're going to get, I won't say a balanced report, we're going to get a report that points out all the difficulties, all the advantages, and helps them to come forward with some suggestions for us to consider. We cannot obviously promise that we're going to accept any suggestions that they make, but I've got a feeling we'll be accepting most of them. Objectives for 26, 27, you've seen them all, they're in the paper in front of you. Happy to take any questions.
Do you want questions in one go or one at a time? So PSE 05, ensure contractors extended its RD Verdi contract. I'm just a little concerned it's not particularly smart, given that we can't be entirely sure that ID Verdi want to extend the contract, but more to the point, does it not fetter the discretion of Cabinet? Because there will have to be a vote and a decision to extend the contract. So if we've got a corporate plan target that says extend it, Council is already obliged to extend it because it's set it in its corporate plan.
Yeah, I can't argue with it.
So I'm concerned that the corporate plan target is obliging the Cabinet to make a decision to extend the contract. Yes. Without having debated it, because the debate hasn't started. It's a basic question about, is there not an interest already to extend it? You haven't had a discussion or debate about it, so.
That's correct. We don't need to have a debate about it. The Cabinet has made the decision based on what the government has told us we can and can't do.
That's interesting, thank you. So PSO6, it's a member briefing. It says to hold an annual member briefing. I don't recall seeing any other corporate plan targets about members. It's probably probably a question for all Cabinet members as well. I don't recall seeing another corporate plan target about another member briefing. Why is it important that member briefings include in the corporate plan? So the corporate plan target is about an annual member briefing to do with your area, and I'm just curious why that's a corporate plan target in your portfolio, but there doesn't seem to be any others in any other portfolio. So, and outside of that, why are we having a corporate plan target for member briefings at all? Presumably, that's something that we should be doing as we're going along anyway. I don't see the need to have a corporate plan target for it. Okay, so GND02, you'll remember the corporate plan was set in March 2023, and as the administration changed from Conservative to Labour, it was changed, there was a target changed, and it was about fly tipping being collected, and our target was 100%, and you remember we had discussions at different corporate plan meetings since then, that we thought it should be 100%. Now, last year, we procured a new vehicle for collecting fly tipping, which is good. We supported that. But why is the target still 80%? I think that might even have come down from where it was last year.
Okay. The answer to that's very simple. When anybody dumps fly tipping anywhere, they leave evidence within it, or we hope they leave evidence within it, and it takes time from the moment that we're informed of fly tipping for people to go out there, examine it thoroughly. I mean, sometimes it's very simple. There is obviously no evidence there of who's tipped it, so we can take it away straight away. Other times, there are signs that there may be something in there, and we need to look through it thoroughly and carefully in the hopes that we can determine who it is and take action against them before we remove it.
Any more questions for Councillor Fletcher? Councillor Allen.
GND 10, it's about relaxed mowing in different wards. Well, it says in all wards, identify areas in all wards. Relaxed mowing, no doubt, saves money, but it's not rewilding. I'm just seeking assurances from the Cabinet member that that he's aware that simply not mowing an area isn't rewilding, and it doesn't really do a great deal for biodiversity either. There is an active way of rewilding, and it needs to be done properly.
Well, I might argue with you on whether there's rewild. Obviously, if you don't cut the grass, there are going to be more small creatures that use it are in there. But the whole purpose about relaxed mowing, etc., is you relax your mowing, you plant trees. If you just leave a relaxed mowing, you don't mow it, it doesn't look nice and people complain about it. If you have pathways mowed through it, it looks better, it looks nice. I ask you all, if you care to take a look at Winslow's Peacewood, you'll see what relaxed mowing and mowed pathways can look like. And I would argue that there it is rewilding.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. We'll move on now. Just a quick one then. Yeah, just a quick one then, Councillor. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, not Chair. I apologise. Fly tipping. do we actually investigate fly tipping that's not necessarily on public land, i.e. the highways? Do we actually investigate if it's been thrown, large quantities been
If it's on private land, I think we don't.
No, so we don't look at...
It's not our job to... this is a cause of problems, of course, because when people fly tip on private land, why should we step in and bear the cost of it?
True. I'm not talking about the cost of it, whether they do the analysis of it, but that's
We
fine.
don't,
That's
we
answered my
don't,
question.
no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a quick question then, please, Councillor Clark. Sorry.
Madam Mayor, I don't mind answering as many questions, you know, but they should really be ready to give me the questions before I started to leave the council. I'm not blaming you
sorry,
this time
Councillor.
because you were very quick.
That was my fault, Councillor.
I was going to start off by saying that I actually like a lot of your targets, and I'm glad to see
Thank
so
you.
many of them. So, I have a question on ECC 22, which is deliver a campaign of awareness initiatives and communications to encourage colleagues to reduce energy consumption by 10% at council-operated corporate buildings, and it's due for delivery in March 2027. There's no follow-on target, certainly in this corporate plan, to actually monitor the usage of energy within the council buildings to see whether there is a 10% reduction and whether that campaign and target has had a positive or negative effect. Are there any plans within either this corporate plan and this year or in subsequent years that we would follow up on that and monitor to see whether that awareness campaign
Yes, I
has had
don't
an
know why
impact?
that's been left out. Yes, certainly there should be. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make sure there is. Thank you.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you then, Councillor Fletcher. Next Cabinet Member then, Finance and Treasury Management, Councillor Chowdhury.
Madam Mayor, can I just say something just to help members when they're receiving questions from colleagues? Some questioners are referring to the corporate plan indicator name and some are referring to the Cabinet Member Statement. So if members are wondering where some of those are, just check both documents, otherwise you'll be confused. Just wanted to give that piece of information, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. My statement has been circulated already, so I don't propose to go through it in any detail. However, in terms of the achievements, I would point to a couple of things. My portfolio is very technical portfolio, and it's basically the engine room of the council, so it's not public facing as such, but nonetheless, the team do extremely important work to make sure that the rest of the departments within the council can actually function effectively. So in terms of the achievements, we met the required deadlines for the 2024-25 accounts, including implementing the recommendations contained within the auditor's annual report for 2023-24. And as members will recall, when we took control of the council, we had an issue with getting the accounts over the line and getting them approved, basically, for various reasons, and that took us quite a while to actually get the accounts accepted. So I'm pleased to say that we are now able to meet the required deadlines. In terms of cost of living support, again, the members will recall that we actually initiated a review of the local council tax support, local council tax reduction scheme. So last year we successfully implemented this revised local council tax reduction scheme and granted 100% council tax relief to the qualifying residents who actually qualified for the council tax support. So again, really helping people with financially and alleviate any ongoing debt. In terms of looking forward for the next year, Again, we will seek to meet the required deadlines for the 2025-26 accounts, including implementing recommendations contained within the auditor's annual report for 2024-25. And in terms of cost of living support, we will process the benefit claims as quickly and as accurately as possible. And finally, collection rate is so important for the council. It is so important that we get the money in for the council so that we can actually meet our targets, meet our objectives, and deliver the services for our residents. So we will continue to maximize the council's income through collection rates, reducing former years' arrears, and continuing to the collection of overpaid housing benefit. So I'm happy to, with that, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Councillor Chowdhury? Councillor Sankey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one minor one. Your comment about getting the accounts over the line now, and yes, they've certainly improved in recent years. But wasn't the reason for that around pensions audit and getting the pensions approved nothing to do with this, and it was a common problem across the whole piece, or did I misunderstand that? I do accept it's good news, and I think a colleague over there is smiling, who's chair of the pensions, the audit committee knows, but I think it's fair to say that was a good success from an audit point of view, doing the auditor side of things. That's what I was going to say, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'm pleased that the Council Sankey is recognising the amount of work required to get these accounts, get them approved. But as he would recall, because he was a portfolio holder that I took over from, actually the original reason for delaying those accounts wasn't the pension. It was another reason that because of the leadership that he was providing at the time, which caused some delay to those accounts, and subsequently there was a query that came for the pensions, and obviously that delayed it even further. But in the end, we managed to resolve that, and now we are actually performing as we ought to, and I'm quite. No, Madam Mayor, you can't respond to that. You made a statement, you had an answer. But you want to come back, I'll give you another answer. But if you want to carry on, I'll keep going.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that next year's MTFS setting will be potentially different, given the local government reorganisation and where the council's budget sits and so on with that regard. But we still will need to approve one, and even under reorganisation we'll have an additional year as the corporate plan sets out. In the previous corporate plan, there was a target to undertake a budget consultation exercise to inform the refresh of the MTFS. That doesn't appear to be within this one. Do we still intend to take a budget consultation, or have we scrapped that now going forward?
Madam Mayor, the budget consultation that Councillor Clark is referring to is not a consultation which is undertaken every year. We're not obliged to undertake that consultation every year, but nonetheless, we do listen to people. We do take on the views from the residents, but the consultation we undertook last year, the response unfortunately wasn't great, and although we took those responses into account, that didn't totally. We couldn't rely on that to actually inform the budget. I think the responses are around less than 300 from memory. So yes, we do listen, but those consultations, it didn't deliver what we were hoping that it would.
Any more questions? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Thank you. Now we'll go on to the Cabinet Member for Planning Policy, Councillor Sheila McKeenan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mine's short and sweet, you'll be pleased to know. Over the course of the last year, we have focused on maintaining planning performance, understanding the local plan position in the context of government regulations, and looking at how to protect our heritage assets. In particular, we've completed the annual review of the local plan. We commenced work on the local list of non-designated heritage assets. We reviewed supplementary planning documents to remove those no longer required and those which duplicated. And we continue to report performance against government metrics. This year, things will get a little more exciting as the government's recent announcement of plan-making regulations has been published. So as such, we will be going to review the local plan development scheme to take account of the regulations. We'll be assessing the local plan position at the end of the first quarter, taking into account national changes. We'll be applying for funding to advance the local heritage list work, as well as programming reviews of conservation area appraisals. And we'll be publishing a service delivery commitment and continue to measure performance against government criteria. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to see in the report that the first item is about the delivery of a high-quality planning service. And the reason I'm interested in this is that a few weeks ago I was contacted by one of my residents in my ward about a planning matter. And when I looked into this planning matter, the new system for looking into it isn't as good as the old one, I don't think, but that's by the side. But when I inquired into it, the excuses I was given was about a high workload and there was a lack of communication between our member of staff and the applicant. I managed to speak to a line manager and I've sorted the matter out and hopefully we're now back on track. But I read over in here it says that we're going to review our planning processes and publishing the commitment to service delivery standards to maintain a high level of service across the department. So what effective management practices are you going to put in place? One, to manage our staff, to manage their workloads and give a quality of service, because I feel that a couple of things that I've had to deal with this year, we have let our residents down. And it could have been sorted out, but it wasn't until I, as a councillor, had to intervene. So I want to know, what are we going to do to maintain this quality of service, and have effective management procedures in place? Because I think it was a lack of management procedures and an overview of what was going on that caused the problems.
Thank you. As you know, I don't personally manage the service, and I'm glad that you wrote to the planning manager to get it sorted out. If you want to write to me about it or contact me later, I'd be interested in what happened. The national planning targets that we adhere to are the ones for major and minor planning applications, which we do maintain the national targets for. I'm sorry, I can't say anything more about it at the moment, unless if you come to me afterwards, we can discuss it in more detail then. Thank you.
Were sort of similar to the comments from Councillor Hudson. What I was going to ask really is, we're looking at PPO1, PPO2, PPO3, PPO4 are delivering a high quality planning service. And I just want to know whether the cabinet member for planning policy thinks we've actually got the resources to do that going forward. Because through the last year, as a member of planning committee, I'm sure you're aware that lots of applications have come to planning committee, particularly the majors, that have been ongoing for quite a long time, much longer than the normal 14-week statutory period. And I know that's not necessarily our officers' fault, but there are lots of applications that do seem to be on our books for quite a long time. And going forward, I think we've got quite a lot of majors coming up, and I really just want some assurance that we've got the resources to deal with those, because I know it's really, really difficult to recruit planning officers at the moment, and the ones we have are working really hard. Particularly now going forward, when we're looking at now the local plan preparation, which is starting in June, which is obviously going to take quite a bit of resource as well. So I just wonder how we're going to manage with that. That's my first question, really. And my second question is, historically, we used to have something that was a Section 106 dashboard, which I and many other members I know found really, really useful, because I had all the information about Section 106 money that we had received in from various different planning applications and what it was for, whether it's for open spaces, affordable housing, or whatever, and whether it had been spent or whether it was still to be spent. I haven't seen that dashboard for probably a couple of years, and I just wondered if the Cabinet member would consider reintroducing that, because I think it was really useful. And I think going forward, when we're looking at local government reorganisation, it would actually be really handy for us to know what money we have got in Section 106 reserves that we need to be spending on our local residents, rather than any chance of that getting lost anywhere along the road. Thank you.
Thank you. I can assure you the dashboard is still existing as far as I know, but I don't personally manage it. The 106 money spreadsheet, if you like, is now under the portfolio of finance, so you would have to ask Councillor Chowdhury about that. But certainly we do maintain the spreadsheet, and it can be arranged for it to be published. I believe it will be published in the new digital formats that we're doing. Yes, I'm being told that is the case. On the recruitment, we have been able to recruit a few members of staff over the last year, and only recently we've been able to recruit another member of staff who will be able to free up the planning manager to concentrate on the local plan. So we are confident now that we have enough staff in place to carry out everything that's needed.
Councillor Sankey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During the year, there's been a new planning system implemented for informing councillors, parish, and just managing the process. My first question is, are you happy with it? And second question is, are you aware of the dissatisfaction that a number of councillors, parish councillors, etc., have been dissatisfied with the service, and they don't get the information that they previously have? In short, to use Councillor Chowdhury's technical term, is it a cock-up, or is it just what you think is acceptable for the dealing with the councillors? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Tom Deary to answer that question.
Thank you. I believe you're referring to the IT system that the applications are held on and referred through. Yeah, so this year the council updated its IT system to a new platform due to ongoing security risks with the existing platform no longer supported by the operator. As part of that transition, we're no longer able to sustain the existing records because that old system is no longer supported. As part of the work that we're doing now over the next few months, all of the old records from the previous system are being brought onto the new one. So the things that you're saying people can't find at the moment, they will be able to find shortly.
If I may, that wasn't the particular question that a number of councillors used to get each week a list specifically of the applications in their area. We don't now. We have to go onto the two systems.
The weekly list is still issued, Councillor Sankey.
Yeah, but you still have to go into it, whereas previously we actually saw exactly without actually going into the system. Also, a number of parish councils have complained about this.
I'm happy.
I'll throw it at that one. There was a certain dissatisfaction.
Given, Mayor, through you, this isn't obviously my item. I'm happy to pick up those matters with Councillor Sankey after the meeting, if helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So that was one of my questions. Just to clarify, the historic planning applications used to be able to search them going back for however long. That's what was missing from the new system. I understand the complexities, and I remember the old system having its support ended. For clarity then, those historic plan applications are being brought into the new system. It's just going to take some time. Is that what we were just told?
from my understanding, that they're still there. We're merging the two systems at the moment, so it's taking some time longer than we intended, but they will be available, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a few corporate plan targets around the local development scheme and different works that are going on. The Cabinet member knows the vulnerabilities of the existing local plan, and I think she's kind of already touched on it already. Are we heading towards a local plan review, and if so, how long will it take?
Well, as I said previously, the new regulations have only just been published, and they become effective from the 25th of March. So Councillor Allen is on the Plan Development Committee with myself, so we will be looking at that and looking at the local development scheme at our next meeting, which is the end of April, and then we would hope to be making a decision on the suitability of the local plan once we know the 5-year land supply at the end of March. So it'll all come together. We'll meet in April, and then hopefully we'll be able to make a decision soon after.
The next report will be Regeneration, Councillor Louise Walker. Would you like to stay there, Councillor Walker? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just give you all a summary because I take it everybody's read the report. Over the course of the last year, we've made meaningful progress with enabling our regeneration projects, as well as supporting local businesses in their development. The submission of planning applications for the demolition of the Maltings precinct, as well as the start of works at Bradley Street toilets. The completion of the Washlands Enhancement Project in Burton, the approval of plans for the old brewery quarter, with contractors appointed for the demolition works, and the delivery of grant funding to local businesses, as well as the spread of support programmes such as the Boosting Women in Business and the Responsible Accelerator programme. These projects don't just stop there, as this year we will be focused on moving forward with delivery, following approval of plans, contracts and partnerships. This includes moving forward with the demolition and landscaping works at the Maltings, completing the Bradley Street toilet refurbishment and commissioning a new modular changing places facility with the support of my colleagues from Utoxeter. Awarding the contract to the development of the Washlands Visitor Centre with the support of the Staffordshire Wildlife Trust, and submitting a new phase plan for funding to the National Heritage Lottery Fund for the delivery of the Bass House project, and continuing to support local businesses where we can with support, advice and funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Clark? Would you like to sit down, Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm surprised to see so few targets in here, given that I know there is a lot of work going on in regeneration and that should be going on with the delivery of the various schemes that we've got. And I am also surprised in here to see that there's nothing in relation to the continued maintenance and development of the Washlands as a regional tourist attraction, with the completion and maintenance of the boardwalks, or the development of a sports hub in Utoxeter, and anything around the progress of those. So one question would be whether she has any comments, whether the Cabinet member has any comments on those and the lack of the inclusion of them. And then my second question would be in relation to R09, delivery of the old brewery quarter, the update on progress relating to the National Lottery Heritage Fund bid. Is this target in here in relation to new and additional bids that we will be putting forward, or is this in relation to the bid that has just kind of failed to go forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Yeah, we haven't set any more targets around the old brewery quarter because it's quite extensive, and the most sensible course of action is to do it in stages. So we're going to commit to updating the members of the public at least quarterly with that. And with the government changes to the local regeneration fund, we'll be adding new appendices to the performance report as well. Question 2, the lottery bid. Yeah, we've discussed this extensively, and I remained very pleased with the positive feedback we've received on that bid. We're committed to resubmitting the lottery fund through a phased approach, and we'll mitigate the financial risk. And the target for this year is to provide an update midway through. And the last bit was, yeah, RO8 is the new measure for us.
Thank you. Any more questions for Councillor Walker? Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was really pleased, I forgot to say to Councillor Fletcher how pleased I was to see the viewing platform that he's done over at the washlands over the river, so I'm absolutely delighted about that. But what I was really quite concerned about is that, you know, we've got the washlands that we're trying to improve as a regional attraction for visitors, and if you go there, it's quite upsetting to see the sort of vandalism and the litter and some of the antisocial behaviour there. And I wonder if the Cabinet member would consider building something into that for when we start with the visitor centre and everything. I believe we have got, I thought we had got CCTV cameras down there, but I'm not sure if we're actually using those effectively to monitor some of the issues that are going on down there, because the council has spent a huge amount of money, a lot of resource, a lot of people have put an awful lot of effort in for the benefit of most people, and it's upsetting to see so few of them that are abusing the facilities that we provide down there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jones. I know you're very passionate about this because it was your original project. So yeah, it's been disappointing over the winter period to see a lot of vandalism, and it has been reported. I know Councillor Wildman's recently reported it again to me. So yeah, there is a commitment to be taken out over about 5 times a year by the contractors at the moment, and they've got that for a scheduled few-year period, and then obviously we'll take over as a council. Also, we've noted that the bins don't seem to be sufficient in that area. They seem to be quite full all the time, so we're looking at how we're going to either add extra bins or programme that into more empties, particularly during the summer months. CCTV is out there, but obviously we're not catching everything. We are looking at the CCTV in more detail, so I'll update you on that later on.
Councillor Allen.
Yeah, so I was pleased to see this boost in business funds being refunded again. It wasn't in last year's, I don't think, remember it being in last year's MTFS. I was a little bit concerned it was going to get cut, but it's good that it's been refunded again. And I was pleased to see the Washington's Visitor Centre is going to be started and there's a corporate plan target for it. I was wondering if we could get an indication as to when the works will be completed.
The works on the Washington Visitor Centre is then just going to be started. So as yet we've got to set a target for the completion of it. I haven't had one yet, so I'll be finding that out for you. Get back to you, Councillor Allen. Thank you.
Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a resident of Uttoxeter and also a councillor for Aurora Ward, whose residents have a lot of time for Uttoxeter, and in particular the Maltings, what are we doing about the Maltings? It says here that there's interim improvements to the Maltings to ensure the buildings do not sit vacant and dilapidated. What are we doing apart from painting a mural on some boarding? You're saying that your council have refocused on an interim phase of the Maltings that include immediate retention of retail presence on the high street, an appropriate demolition of the wider precinct, and the necessary vehicular infrastructure to secure the pedestrianisation of the high street. These things are very important. We've waited years and years and years in Uttoxeter to get the Maltings developed. You know, when are we going to get it done? It's nice to see that we're actually starting to do some work on the Bradley Street toilets, and thank you very much for that. It says here that the council are conscious that it will require significant investment alongside interest from the private sector. So my questions are, 1, when are we going to start getting things going? 2, has there been any interest from the private sector? I don't need to know individual details, but you know, has there been any interest? And you know, when you see on social media today
that people are saying that the Maltings is a disgrace. It's very hurtful to a resident who's lived there for 43 years. And I think it's about time that the council, you know, started to make things happen and visibly make it happen, you know, because people can't see what's going on. And we need to inform the residents more about precisely what's going on. How, you know, what is our plan? Thank you.
Our plan is, as we said before, we will be demolishing the Maltings project and landscaping it. As yet, it hasn't gone to planning process for various reasons. A lot of that was Heritage England did an in-depth look at it and what the high street would look like without it. So that did put us back. But planning is in the next couple of months. I'm not sure of the date yet, but we will be doing that. So my commitment to you is you will see some change during this end of the year.
Councillor Hudson.
You know, you haven't answered my question about has there been any interest from the private sector in investment?
As far as I know, there hasn't, no.
Councillor Sankey, did you want to? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Walker. We'll go now to a Cabinet Member for Tourism and Cultural Development, Councillor Paul Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope that doesn't mean Councillor Sankey's saving all his questions up for me. Again, I take it everybody's read the reports, but there's certain things that we must sort of cover through the period that's just happened. But following from the excitement of the Sonic Boom Festival created in September 2024, the Council, in partnership with Sonic Boom CIC, delivered a second festival in 2025 and a third is planned for 2026. This key event on the music-led approach to culture regeneration and placemaking has acted as a catalyst to tourism, economic activity, employment and education within Burton upon Trent. The success of the intervention was recognised nationally, being shortlisted for the UK Independent Festival of the Year, as well as being shortlisted for the Local Government Chronicle Awards in the Public-Private Partnership category. The Council has co-developed a new cultural strategy for the Borough with the ambition of establishing a clear, cohesive and co-developed cultural offer for local people, organisations, visitors, which celebrate the history and heritage of the Borough. Alongside and connected to this, the Council launched a representative place brand for Burton upon Trent following the research and design work undertaken in 2024 and 2025, which helped to establish the brand identity that was embedded throughout the Council's event programme and cultural regeneration of the town. The programme worked in partnership with an external PR agency to secure significant local, regional, national media coverage of its major events. We have successfully delivered the Canvas of Light events in Burton, celebrating two of Burton upon Trent's most significant heritage assets, attracting thousands of visitors to the town. The Council has worked on creating a strategy for the Brewhouse Art Centre. It explores options on how it will function in future. It's also investing in the Brewhouse Centre facilities with support for a redesigned CAF bar, new PA system for the main auditorium and improvements in the cinema space. Work has begun and now it's finished on the outline business case for the Market Hall. The Council has now started work on to develop the full business case for the future operation of the building. The works to complete the refurbishment of the Market Hall roof were started towards the end of 2025 and due to be completed in March 2026. The Council entered into partnership with Everyone Active for an initial 10-year term, with an option to extend for another 5 years. As the partnership moves into the latter stages of the contracted period, the Council has considered opportunities for extending the contract beyond the initial 10 years and has resulted in the partnership agreeing 5-year extension. In addition, agreeing a new delivery model giving significant financial benefits through increased management fees to the council. The council has secured significant funding from Sport England Swimming Pool Support Fund to be invested in swimming pool facilities funded by a £510,000 grant. 600 solar panels were fitted at the Medicide Centre before an additional 339,000 were secured to install 393 solar panels to Uttoxeter Leisure Centre. Artificial playing surfaces at Thomas Lanes High School has been replaced. This has ensured ongoing community access to a good quality playing service. Enhancements to Oldfield Sports and Social Club, Shobnall Leisure Complex and Brampshire Park are also underway. This year the council will deliver a vibrant events programme which will include the Sonic Boom Festival. Festival for the third year, it will see the Canvas of Lights return, which saw visitors to East Staffordshire bolstering the local economy. Underpinning these events will be a new cultural and event strategy establishing a cultural ecosystem to connect venues, artists, community groups and businesses. Going forward, a full business case is to be completed for the market hall to access the Enterprise Zone Regional Investment Fund. This will allow further development for the market hall. And also, of course, the sports hub has been mentioned. That comes under me, actually, so I'm waiting for those questions to come rather than talk about it. But I do want to say a big thank you to James Abbott and his team for securing the funding for the solar panels and the work that they do, getting the funding for the Medicide and such, and also for those people who didn't visit the Canvas of Lights Festival. It was a tremendous success. There was 12,000 people passed through Burton-on-Trent on them 3 days, and it's credit to the officers and people like Nathan Gallagher and Tracy Parr.
Any questions for Councillor Walker? Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased that there's a lot of positives in that report. I'm delighted the contract with everyone active continues to pay dividends. But the one project that doesn't worry me still is the quarry site. And I noticed in the report here it says regular updates to members about the progress. Well, every time I wanted to know the progress, I've had to follow it up myself and find that progress out. So I don't know where this regular process is. As a council, I'd hate us to lose out on another tranche of 106 for Uttoxeter, because it is a major project and I think it's integral to the development of the whole sporting part of Uttoxeter. So the only question I would ask is about the continuation of the project, the quarry site. I know the planning's going through. I know it's not our responsibility. We've done the initial work, and I know it's the Football Association who are carrying it through. But I would like to see some pressure put to make this happen, because this has been on the cards for a long while. Numerous people in my position, and what Paul is now, have pursued this, but it hasn't sort of got any spade in the ground yet, and I would like to see some progress on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't agree more. It's, as you know, it caused some discussion in the early stages, but I'm fully committed to it. We're ready to go. I think the hold up was that the Staffordshire FA were struggling to find the extra funding. That was resolved, and then the hold up now, believe it or not, is lapwing birds, and it's getting those relocated at the moment, and Staffordshire FA found somebody to take those take these lapwing birds, and now he's pulled out. Now they're back to square one, but it is something that we're keeping a close eye on, and if you, by all means, email me if you want the updates on it, and I'll let you know.
Councillor Hudson.
Yeah, Councillor Whittaker's basically stole my thunder on that one. Yeah, we heard through rumours, Councillor Walker, about the lapwings. Can I ask you, can you please send an update on what's going on to the sports hub to all the councillors? And can you send a copy of your report to the Secretary of the East Staffordshire Sports Council? Because they ask questions every month about it, and I haven't got an update to give them. And it would be really nice if we could actually have an update in writing from you as to what the current position is. I know it's not your fault that we've come to this sudden halt, but nobody knew. I knew because of gossip round Uttoxeter about the birds and the farm that was going to do it and wasn't, but nobody's been told officially. So could you please do that for us? I would appreciate it.
Yes.
Any more questions for Councillor Walker? Councillor Hadley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At a time when there's so much division and hate, the Sonic Boom Festival and the Lux Morales illuminations were brilliant events that brought Burton and East Staffordshire together. The illuminations in particular brought people from Burton's multicultural communities together to enjoy the light show. Does the Cabinet member agree with me that events like this should continue to be utilised as a way to combat the politics of hate?
Absolutely, yes. Again, for those people who didn't go, but for those who did go, especially on the first evening, it was great to see, especially going through the church, the amount of South East Asian people with the children going into the church just to see the Light Festival. And it was a coming together of the multicultural community, which is Burton-on-Trent. And it's these sort of things that underpin these sort of strategies, that it's communities first. So, yes.
Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm just going to refer to POH12. It's about the business case. I think you touched on it in your opening statements. Business case to do with the market hall. Good that the business case got a target for a business case. Target is March 2027, so you have until March 2027 to bring the business case. Just a little bit concerned that it's still an unanswered question as to what's happening with the market hall and what's going in there. Business case is good, but that doesn't mean funding, and it certainly hasn't. We haven't started to procure contractors to actually do whatever we want to do to it. So I'm just wondering, at what point are we going to have a solution or an outcome that people are happy with in the market hall?
The outline business case has gone to the Cabinet at Birmingham City Council. They're holding the money. I mean, they may end up paying the bin men off, I don't know with it, but sorry. But the outline business case has gone, it's been passed. The full business case is now being worked on. The market hall is due to reopen in the middle of March, maybe beginning of April, because it's been put back a little bit due to the bad weather. It will reopen and then it will close again, obviously for this work to be undertaken on it. And once that business case is developed, then we'll put it out there for everybody to see what's going to go on. Is that all right?
Thank you, Councillor Walker.
Thank you.
Right, we'll go on to item 8 now, the corporate plan refresh. I invite the Leader of the Council to propose and present this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, corporate plan refresh 26-27. Ordinarily, this would be an election year, but that may not be the case. We've not burned the reserves. We've not broke any of the minister's guidance on taking on new contracts, selling or buying assets. We're kind of limited, and we've been kind of limited in this. Members will know that the Cabinet member statements are what this document is, and there's been lots and lots and lots of questions tonight, lots of them, which is it's good to see, really. So I don't intend to say any more than that. I'm unsure at this moment in time what will happen next March regarding a corporate plan refresh. We will have to consider that really carefully, bearing in mind that 2 months later we may have a shadow unitary council leaning over our shoulders. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Madam Mayor, I'm happy to ask Council to approve this corporate plan refresh.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Fletcher. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't originally going to speak on to this item, but just picking up on a point that the Leader of the Council mentioned then. He mentioned that the Council hasn't fallen foul of any of the Minister's guidance or anything in buying and selling of assets, but didn't necessarily mention the disposal of assets for free. Does he think we've potentially fallen foul of this from having disposed of any assets for free, or potentially have disposed of any assets for free? And does the Council plan to review, in the course of reviewing its assets, see if there are any that should be disposed of for free to local community groups or to parish councils, as they might be to commercial businesses on similar terms?
Fitzpatrick.
Madam Mayor, I'm only going to say we have a scrutiny committee tomorrow dealing with a call-in on the particular issue Councillor Clark's referring to. Let's deal with that then.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yep. Councillor Allen.
Not so much a question, just a statement. Thank you, Mayor. It's a corporate plan. It's got targets in there. Some are really good ones, and we're quite supportive of a lot of them. But it's a corporate plan, and it shows that the council's on tick over. We're not pushing on. We're not stretching targets. We're repeating the same targets that have been on year on year. Apart from the one MCFS consultation, that was in year on year, both through this administration and the previous one, and it isn't now in here now. Just to correct Councillor Chowdhury. But we're on tick over. We're not pushing. We're not stretching targets. We don't really want to get in the way of it, so we're happy to. We're not going to support the corporate plan because it doesn't go far enough in so many different places. But we're not going to get in the way of it either.
Thank you. So, Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I need to put the record straight in terms of the consultation for the budgets. The previous administration did not hold the budget consultation year on year. I think it was only twice. It was done only twice. So I think it's wrong to say that those budget consultations were undertaken every year under previous administration. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Sankey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly on my watch, and maybe not on his cock-up watch, but certainly they did take place. We did ask residents for that, so I think that is the case. As regards this corporate plan, yes, there's targets. It is business as usual, ticking over. I raised it at the last full council meeting. What are we going to do in preparation for LGR? The leader says today we're not being given things to do to prepare for LGR, I paraphrase, but effectively when I asked the question earlier on, this I don't see us preparing at all, getting our act together for LGR, getting things ready that we've got buttoned down some of our major projects that we want to do, we should be doing. This doesn't do it for me. And like the Leader of Opposition says, it's just ticking over and hoping for the best. And I will not be supporting this one. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go to the vote now then. Thank you. So all those in favour? All those against? And any abstentions? Thank you. Is that, that's carried, isn't it? Yeah, that's carried. Thank you. Right, we'll go to item 9 now. These are the annual reports of the chairman of the scrutiny committees. These are are to be received and noted. Thank you. So I now invite the Scrutiny and Climate Change Councillor Michael Slater.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In presenting this report, I need to thank the officers for all the help they've given me over the year, and that to the committee, and helped in the committee as well, and to the various subgroups. I'm also grateful for the officers and cabinet members who attended the committee and provided answers to our written questions and gave us presentations. I'm also grateful for all the members of the committee for attending. We've had some wide range of discussions and at times quite vigorous. I hope you all feel that you've been able to ask the questions you wanted to ask and that you were able to fully state your views. The full committee met 4 times in the last 12 months with further meetings of the review subgroups as well. In the early part of the year, committee members had the opportunity to visit the 4 Ashes waste to resources incineration site. This was as part of our ongoing review into the council's brown bin subscription scheme. Over the year, we asked a total of 20 written questions concerning a wide range of topics: recycling, bulky waste collection, the use of hydrated vegetable oil in council refuse buildings, and possibly in taxis. We also asked questions about the council deliberations about the use of glyphosate. And as has been mentioned previously, as chair, I was very pleased to address the citizens' jury during their second weekend session, and I can assure everybody that the jurors were very well informed, and in many cases, I think they were ahead of the questions I asked them, so I was very pleased to go and talk to them. We have 2 ongoing reviews taking place. I can tell you now that the review of the brown bin subscription scheme is due to be presented to the full committee for approval next month. The committee has continued to review the council's quarterly reports, and we also were presented with 33 EDRs to review and discuss. With your permission, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to answer any or to do the same by email, if you wish. Thank you.
It's just for noting, councillors, later. Okay. We'd like to welcome Councillor Hadley for the Health and Wellbeing Committee, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the welcome. So I presume the report in enclosure 12 has been read. In 4.3 in the report marks that we have one completed review of knife crime, which is going towards the cabinet meeting later next week. And I'm happy to receive any questions on email or now, but I think it's just for noting, isn't it, Madam Mayor? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hadley. I'd like to for the Market and Regeneration Committee. Our overview for the year: during 2025-26, the committee met 4 times, supported by further work between meetings. Public access to scrutiny has continued to grow since the introduction of public questions and the expansion of meeting live streams. Like all the other scrutiny committees, we reviewed quarterly corporate performance reports and included updates on council performance targets, Towns Fund programme progress, leisure operating contract performance. We have also received 79 executive decision records relevant to our remit, ensuring regular oversight of delegated decisions. Our key scrutiny review process: the main review undertaken this year focused on how Burton Market Hall has previously operated and how this relates to ongoing regeneration plans. The review ongoing in 2026-27 covers 4 key themes: understanding the day-to-day operation of the Market Hall, gathering trader views on management and communication, comparing Burton's Market Hall to similar facilities in comparable towns, reviewing the building structural condition and the regeneration work planned for it. Data gathering is well underway, and the committee expects to report findings in the first half of 2026. Regeneration updates and presentations: the committee has also requested a detailed presentation on regeneration outcomes from the relevant chief officer and cabinet member. This will take place on the 18th of March 2026 and an intended help to identify future review topics, ensuring scrutiny remains responsive to key regeneration priorities. Other scrutiny functions: call-ins, no call-in requests were submitted this year. No petitions were referred to the committee, and no public questions were received from residents' members. So, in conclusion, in summary, the committee has had a productive year, making progress on its major review of the Burton Market Hall while maintaining regular oversight of regeneration and development matters. This work supports the Council's ambition to deliver effective regeneration and ensure that key assets like the Market Hall and contribute positively to the borough's future. I'd just like to thank my committee too for some good conversations and some good reviews that we've been doing, and thank you very much for your support as the chair of that committee. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Walker.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, sorry, nothing to do with your report.
Yeah.
I've got no issue with people filming in the gallery, but could you ask for the lights to be turned off, because they're really extremely off-putting when it's on the phone.
Yes, could you stop recording? It is being recorded live anyway, so you'll be able to watch it afterwards. So I don't see there's any reason to film while you're in the chamber. Thank you. No, you may not speak at all. Thank you. Right, the next scrutiny is Value for Money and Council Services Committee. That is Councillor Krupski. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present the annual report to the Scrutiny Value for Money Committee for 25-26. The purpose and role of the committee: our committee was responsible for scrutinising the Council's activities to ensure decisions are effective, transparent and provide value for money. This includes reviewing performance, monitoring executive decisions and understanding in-depth reviews on areas of strategic importance. The overview for this year: during 2025-26, the committee met 4 times formally, with additional work carried out between meetings. We continue to support greater public engagement following recent constitutional changes, and our meetings remain live streamed to promote transparency. In terms of corporate performance monitoring, as with all scrutiny committees, we reviewed quarterly performance reports. These included updates on council performance targets, the Towns Fund programme, the leisure operating contract and the insourcing of grounds maintenance. This year we reviewed 57 executive decision records, ensuring robust oversight of delegated power decisions. Key reviews undertaken: value for money of the Civic Function Suite, Burton Town Hall. We completed a major review of the Civic Function Suite, examining whether it provides value for money and how its position could be strengthened. Our recommendations to Cabinet were included the following: reviewing pricing models and exploring variable charges, introducing energy efficiency measures, reviewing staffing arrangements, creating a standalone bar cost centre, exploring improved parking arrangements, producing a virtual tour to help promote the venue, and enhancing external maintenance and signage. Cabinet noted these recommendations at its meeting on the 23rd of February 2026. Secondly, the review of ESBC fly tipping operations. This review began January 2026 and remains ongoing. It focuses on resources, operational changes and service effectiveness. Data gathering is underway with support from officers. Also, parking charges update. The committee has requested a presentation on the impact of new parking charges, including income, expenditure and usage. This will be received at our meeting on the 9th of April. Other scrutiny functions. No call-ins, petitions or public questions were received during this year. The committee continues to maintain a rolling programme of future scrutiny topics. In conclusion, this has been a productive year for the committee and detailed scrutiny undertaken to ensure the council continues to deliver value for money for residents. I'd also like to take this opportunity of thanking both committee members and the officers that participated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Krupski, and thank you for all the reports of all the scrutiny chairs. We now go on to item 10, and that is a motion on notice. I invite Councillor Mrs B. George to put forward the motion at item 10 on the agenda.
Madam Mayor, members will see the motion sets out the background to the situation involving Burton Hope and the concerns that have been raised about the proposal for the charity to vacate Crossley House. Quite simply, what I am asking this council to do tonight is request that we reconsider the decision to move the archives so that Burton Hope can remain in Crossley House. At the beginning of February, this council informed Burton Hope that it would not be offered a new lease at Crossley House, citing plans to create a centre for the town's heritage archives. While I fully recognise that the archives are important, I would point out that it's far easier to relocate paperwork than it is to displace people. Crossley House is perfectly situated for Burton Hope services. It's centrally located, easily accessible for those who walk and those who rely on public transport, and already equipped to meet the charity's operational needs. Requiring the charity to move would disrupt essential services and cause real hardship for vulnerable residents who depend on them each week. We've heard that some residents walk to Crossley House because it's the only place they can access the food and support their families need. One social media account stated, "If Burton Hope moved, I don't know how I'd manage." That simple statement illustrates the reality faced by hundreds of people in our community who rely on this charity day in, day out, every week. As part of reconsidering this decision, I would also ask that the council looks again at the possibility of rehoming the archives in another building. Does it make sense to require Burton Hope to move out of Crossley House and find a new home where the archives themselves will need to be relocated again in the future once High Street is completed? There are a number of other locations that could potentially accommodate the archives: the Old Fish Market, the Market Hall, the Town Hall and the Civic Function Suites, or buildings such as Bass House or Townhouse. The Brew House could also be considered. Any of these locations could allow Crossley House to continue to be used by Burton Hope while ensuring the archives are properly accommodated. I recognise there will be challenges. Some locations may ultimately prove unsuitable, and there may need to be temporary restrictions on public access. However, I would suggest that moving Burton Hope would be far more disruptive, particularly for those who rely on the charity's support. Burton Hope operates entirely on charitable donations, supported by over 120 volunteers, and at no cost to the taxpayer. To displace the charity now would not only disrupt essential services, it would undermine a network of care that strengthens our community and send a message that accessibility, continuity and compassion are not this council's priorities. Supporting this motion does not commit the council to a final outcome. It simply asks that the decision be reviewed and that all available options are properly explored before we proceed any further. This doesn't need to be a political debate. In the past, I've heard some members suggest that food banks would not exist were it not for this Conservative Party. It's not the case as I know it. What I do know is that Burton Hope has grown into a genuine lifeline for many people in our borough, and the current proposal risks causing significant disruption to those who depend on it. Surely it's our responsibility to do everything we can to examine alternatives before returning to the option of asking the charity to leave its current home. I urge the council to act with empathy, foresight and a sense of moral responsibility. Let Burton Hope remain at Crossley House. Let them continue to serve the residents who rely on them, while the archives are safely accommodated elsewhere. Madam Mayor, colleagues, Tonight we have the opportunity to pause, reconsider and make sure we are making the right decision for our community. Supporting this motion costs nothing, commits us to nothing, and simply allows us to explore better solutions. Please, give Burton hope. Hope. I therefore ask you to support the motion and help ensure that Burton Hope can continue its vital work without disruption. I move the motion.
Councillor Allen. Would any councillors like to speak on this item? Anyone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering if you were going to ask Councillor Allen if he was reserving his right.
Would you like to reserve your right, Councillor?
Can I... Yeah, of course he did. Yeah, he did. Let me start. I won't be long, but I'll come to the points. The chairman of Burton Hope has stated on many social media sites that he doesn't want to meddle in party politics. Yet, he's working or has worked with the Green Party to facilitate his petition. And he has approached the Conservative opposition to bring this motion to the council. Now, is that not meddling in petty politics? This group certainly hasn't, and that is disappointing, to say the least, on your side. Let me expel some myths that have been on social media. Nobody is evicting Burton Hope. Their lease has come to the end of its natural term. And another myth, we are not moving a bunch of cardboard boxes with archives in it into a storage unit. The Station Street site is a hub. The public go in there, people look at the archives, students study them. It's a hub. It's not storing boxes somewhere. And it's vitally important to this town's brewing heritage. Other myths shared on social media. No cabinet decision has been made on Crosley House. No cabinet decision. No Labour group decision has been made on Crosley House. Now, late in January, we had no urgent use for Crosley House, and we were actually looking to offer a new lease, maybe with a rent view. That was late January, but then something changed. Within a matter of days, our landlord at the Station Street site gave us the new terms of our future lease. A £65,000 per annum rent, a minimum 3-year lease, and an extra condition that we become responsible for the roof, for its repair, replacement, and we know it's in a bad way. Pushing the costs, without running costs, pushing the costs of the Station Street Brewing Heritage hub to something close to £100,000 per annum. Now, is that good use of public money? Is it value for money? Is it sustainable? So we did, what did we do? We looked at our own estates, our own assets, our own buildings, and yes, Burton Hope's lease was coming to its natural end. So an urgent decision was needed. And I would say it was an operational decision. with the advice from 2 heads of service, which considers best value for the taxpayers and for the council, other suitable premises within our estate. Councillor George, it's already been done. It was done before we moved to the Station Street hub. We looked at other sites. We didn't go in there, spend some money on refurbing that blindly. We looked at other options. Crosley House lease, as I said, was coming to its natural end. And we also considered, I considered, when I was office, Burton Hope's trustees' report to the Charity Commission. It clearly states in there that they've outgrown Crosley House. It clearly states in there that they're actively looking for a larger premises to consolidate their operation. Clearly says it, it's a public document. I've looked at it. Clearly states that one of their aims is to potentially purchase a building outright in the very near future or the medium term. Purchase outright. And it clearly shows in that report significant assets of £163,500. Now, if they told the Charity Commission they're holding those significant assets because they need a larger property, why haven't they been doing it? It begs a serious question. So that decision was down to me. Operationally managing our estates, as it's in my portfolio, we have a property coming available. We have an urgent need to relocate the Brewing Heritage Archives and Hub. Though the only EDR or executive decision that has been taken on this issue was taken by me last Thursday. And that was to put in place the first element of the support package, the generous support package that we've offered Burton Hope to help ensure they're located into a suitable larger premises with minimum disruptions. Their trustees have accepted that offer, but we get all this Facebook stuff from the chair of Burton Hope. So that's the only EDR side, to allow Burton Hope to stay in that premises past 3 days' time when their lease expires, to the end of June. That was very generous as well. So I hear you all. I believe the purpose of this was petty politics and someone that likes to hear his own voice. So I had to make a decision on the best interest of this council, best interest of the taxpayer, the best and the best evidence of how we manage our estates and assets. I won't be supporting this motion. I will be voting against it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to pick up on a few points that the Leader of the Council just mentioned there in terms of, firstly, around the party politics. I'm not speaking to any of the members of the charity itself, but I think it's important to note that the importance of this issue was raised to all councillors in a mass email by members of the charity and not been targeted to any individual political party to come forward and make a party political point on that. And I know we've certainly not come forward from a party political perspective, but rather from the large swathes of public interest that there is around this topic. In terms of the natural conclusion of the term, I think it's important to note here as well, in some irony, that the current Labour government are essentially banning the deprecation of such leases from a residential perspective within the Renters' Right Bill, and the natural end of no-fault evictions and so forth for residential properties. But when it comes to communities and charities, we're not affording them the same rights within that. And whilst it's true that no cabinet decision or no group decision or no formal vote has taken place on this item, I think that is part of the frustration that has been felt by the charity and by members of the public, that it feels like a lack of public decision making has been taken in regards to this issue, particularly because a decision will have to be taken in consultation with the leasee on all of the properties that we take, and a decision has to be taken of whether we're going to take that forward or not. The fact that it's not come to cabinet or not come to council, or there is no public minutes of it, doesn't mean that the decision hasn't been made at some point, just because it's not been done in a formal council way. So I think it's important to note that that has been one of the public frustrations, one of the frustrations of the charity, that it does feel like that these have been backroom deals made because of a financial need of the council, and that this council is putting forward the financial priorities of the council above those of the needs of the community. I find it interesting here in that we talk about the fact that the brewery archive is such an important hub within the community and its presence on the high street, that it attracts community members, it attracts students, it attracts volunteers, it attracts all of those, and that we've reviewed all of the buildings and as such that we hold within our portfolio and found that actually there are no such hubs that would do that job for such an important community centre, but at the same time we're forcing a council by refusing to renew a charity by refusing to renew their lease to similarly find an impossible situation and find a hub which the leader of the council has admitted doesn't exist in that capacity to fulfil that need. And I think it's also important to know as well that, as Councillor Allen alluded to, there are plenty of properties which could be made suitable for the archive on a more permanent basis across the estate. Did I say Councillor Allen? Sorry, Councillor George. So I think it's important with that we do note those points here. I think it's a shame that we've got to this point of needing this motion here, and I appreciate the difficult decision that the leader of the council has been put in order to fill the requirements and balance the needs of the council, the charity and the hub. But I do think that this is a crucial charity that does a lot of good within the town, and I would hate to see that work reduce or become jeopardised by this decision. I will be supporting the motion, and I do urge the leader of the council to rethink the decision that has been made and the situation that we're currently in.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you.
Yes.
I'm going to exercise my right to speak as the monitoring officer, primarily Councillor Clark. You've just misstated the legal position, referring to behind closed-door meetings. On the previous item, you came very close to discussing a confidential matter, so I would urge some caution. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think one thing we need to establish, the archives do need to be near the High Street project, and Crossley House is the ideal situation for it. If this motion was to be carried, and if we did, as a cabinet, agree to accept the recommendations, the cost to this council of staying put would be £300,000 over 3 years. In the meantime, we will be getting something like £12,000 a year rent from Burton Hope for Crossley House. And of course, they are looking for bigger premises, so any time in that 3 years, they could up sticks and move to somewhere else, so we wouldn't be getting any rent from them. Now, all those on that side of the house who are voting for this motion, I'd like you to tell me, or tell this group, tell this council, where we would make cuts to make up for that at least £200,000 cost.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Would anybody else like to speak? Councillor Lott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm quite saddened by aspects of the debate this evening, in particular Councillor Fitzpatrick's statement, which seems to indicate there's some sort of political football. I want to bring it back to Burton Hope itself. What do they do? What impact will the moving Crossley House have on their operations? What impact will it have on the actual people of Burton-on-Trent? The people they're helping, the people they're volunteering to help and have given up their evening this evening to be here to see this debate. If we disrupt their activities, yes, we need to put the archive somewhere. That's accepted. But we know full well there are lots of places it could go that wouldn't cost us £300,000 over 3 years. I believe that Burton Hope should be left use Crossley House for as long as they need it. And maybe they will find better premises in a year and a half. I believe we should support them until that time. I believe we owe the people of Burton-on-Trent that. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this motion? Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make some specific points really. So in terms of the lease, so the lease was signed some 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, it was known that the lease will be ending this month. So that decision was made then, and I don't think any decision's been made in terms of ending the lease, because that happened 3 years ago. From what I can gather from this debate and what I've seen, so the decisions that have been made is number one, to extend the lease to end of June. Another decision that has been made is to offer help with the relocation. And the third is to support the smooth relocation of Burton Hope operation. They are the decisions that have been made, as I understand. So I think it's a bit disingenuous to suggest that somehow this council is actually not supporting the residents or the vital operations that the Burton Hope. Yes, of course Burton Hope do some good work. No one's denying that. But this council, don't forget, this council, only last month we passed the budget. We talked about cost of living support across the council. We committed 3.25 million. And wasn't it this group who said, were accusing us investing money in the most deprived areas for the money when it's needed? Do we remember that? So we as a council, we as a group, we as a council are committed to supporting our residents, most vulnerable residents, perhaps that you so eloquently spoke about. So that's you know, that is what we believe in as the council. But it is also true, as Councillor Fitzpatrick has alluded to, Burton Hope is actively looking to relocate. They have the money for it. They have the plans for it. They are looking to do that. So if they find something tomorrow, would they be thinking about the loss, the £200,000 or whatever it is, you know, nearly £100,000 a year that this council will incur? Suspect not. So I think let's take the emotion out of it and let's stick to the facts. The facts are the decisions that this council is taking, it is to safeguard the Burton Hope's operations. It is to support Burton Hope. And I think the best way forward with this is to work collaboratively with the council and find a solution to move things forward, which is beneficial for Burton Hope and the residents and the volunteers, but also which doesn't impact this council so severely financially either, which is also, by the way, we are also custodians of the taxpayers' money. It's not freebie. So we need to be responsible and take those responsible decisions on behalf of the taxpayers as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this motion? Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't even know where to start, really, for some of the stuff I've been hearing. I think Councillor Chowdhury's just covered some of the stuff I was going to highlight. The fact that we had a budget with an extra 200,000 of cost of living support, what, three weeks ago? You voted against it. I don't really want to go on about what happened during them 14 years of austerity, but let's draw you back to the Marmot review in 2020. It was a reported 22% increase in child poverty across the UK because of Conservative choice of austerity. Your choice. I remember being in this chamber debating with the former Councillor Jessel, the cabinet member, talking about it being a political choice. I was told from that side that, yeah, it's a choice and we made it. And now, all of a sudden, you've all found a conscience. Just heard about the operational decision being made. It's the fault of the system of local government. That's why it's an operational decision. So, are you now suggesting that we get rid of the cabinet? But all of a sudden, you've all become socialists. You know, I'd love to get rid of it. Let's go back to full council meetings. It's not a problem to me. So, I just find it strange. But lastly, let me pay tribute to all the voluntary services that operate across the borough and across this town. My understanding that you can get a hot meal in Burton-on-Trent virtually 7 days a week now. And a lot of people in this chamber still volunteer and give the time. Yourself, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Holton, Councillor Legg, just to name a few that give the time in this chamber. So we know what the voluntary services do and the time they give up. But this is about, as Councillor Chowdhury says, we was always told in the trade union movement, when you go up into the national executive role, Councillor Chowdhury says we're custodians of taxpayers' money. We was always told we're custodian of the chequebook of members' money, and it's about looking after that money. And it's something that we inherited, don't forget.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Anyone else like to speak? Oh. Okay, so we'll go to the vote then. Would you like to speak, Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a bit of a shame that so many members of the administration have chosen to make it quite so political. Councillor Fitzpatrick talks about that the chair of the charity went to the Greens and has they've started some sort of petition. I believe the actual case is that the Greens wanted to help them out, and that he went to us and asked us to raise a motion. You know, the council owns the property. The administration is making decisions, which means that they are going to be displaced. And what trustee wouldn't want to try and prevent that from happening, and for them to try and do anything do something in any way to try and prevent that happening, including reaching out to other political groups because it's a council asset. Now, if this was an entirely private building and this was about the council, perhaps we go back to a debate of a long time ago. Perhaps this could have been a debate about council withdrawing funding from charities, as I know that we did a number of years ago. But it's not about that. This is about the fact that it's a council building and the council is making decisions that mean that this charity is going to be displaced. So I don't think it's pretty difficult for the trustees to not turn to anybody else other than the administration, which from their perspective, as I understand it, they don't feel they're getting enough support. So I think it's a little bit disingenuous to then say, oh, well, it's being turned political simply because the trustees are asking the opposition for help on this. It is right that we have a debate in this chamber on such an important asset anyway. The archive is a hub. We know it's a hub. We know how active it is, and that's why we approached the unit that's on Station Street from when it started and set it up there to try and maintain public access to the archives that were being shut down, moved out from another building. And I'm aware, I know, because I was there when the decisions were made, that the deal with that unit was that the council would pay to renovate it and do it up, and that they would have rent-free for the period until the end of. So the leader suggesting that we up until January, February, we didn't know that we would have to pay a rent on the building doesn't really make sense, because it was clear in the deal that was made with that unit that at some point the council was going to have to pay market rent and rate for that unit. So I don't buy the argument that we're happy for them to let them stay, and then we've been told that we're going to have to pay rate. Well, we knew that from the get-go. And in terms of renovating it, it appears there's some problems with the roof. I've heard that from more than one source. Perhaps we haven't renovated it quite as sufficiently as we should have done. There also seems to be a bit of a confusion on the administration's part about this decision. We know that a cabinet decision or an executive member hasn't made a decision to withdraw the lease. That's not how it works. There doesn't need to be a decision to withdraw the lease, but there has been a decision to put the archives in there, thereby displacing them. So, and I'm not really sure what the defence is there at all, because this is about the charity staying there or not. We're supporting the charity staying there, and so that then means that the council needs to find an alternative accommodation for the archives. Councillor George did say in her statement that perhaps that means that we'd have to restrict public access for a temporary period to the archives. That's us. I'm quite supportive of that. That's a decision that would have to be made. And I say that because the disruption to Burton Hope and the people that rely on it would be more significant to those people than it would to people that want to access the council, the archives. And I think that would be a sacrifice worth making. I think the leader also then talked about the aims of Burton Hope and this idea that they are looking, they've stated that they want to purchase a building outright and that they're potentially looking for a new or larger property. That's fine, and I accept that, and I don't think that can be disputed. I'm not sure the trustees would dispute that either. Control over the building that you're operating from is always an objective, but that doesn't really make sense to then say, okay, well, we know that this is what this told the Charity Commission, so we'll just move them out anyway, push them out and force them to find that place now. Now, if the administration had have picked the phone up and said to the trustees, listen, we're going to have to move the archives into there, and we know that you're looking for somewhere to stay, to buy or to move to, can we help you with that? Then that's fine. But the opposite is true. A letter was dropped off that the lease wouldn't be renewed, and all of the activity about looking at help with the support package and helping them to find another home has only started. And I understand there was only a meeting just today with the council to work out what other units are available in and around Burton that they could move to. That's only happened today. All of this work has only happened since the public have understood and realised that the charity is going to have to move out, and from what I understand from the trustees, it isn't just move out, but it is also close the operation in Burton. And all of that's only happened because of the letter that was delivered in March. And so there would have been a much better way of doing this. It would have been to understand that the unit on Station Street is coming to an end, and we should have been looking for another alternative venue for those archives before it became urgent. That hasn't happened, and now there's a scramble to try and find somewhere for them. I still maintain that it is more disruptive for the people that use Burton Hope and its services than it is to people that use the archives. And perhaps we'll be in a bit of debate at some point in the future about access to the archives. I'd still maintain that it's more disruptive to the people that use the services of Burton Hope. Councillor Fletcher talked about the fact that it would have to be, the archives would have to stay in the existing building. I'm not suggesting that, we're not suggesting that. There are other places, and I'm not convinced that the council and the administration have fully looked into all of those other places. The townhouse in particular, Bass House I know has some difficulties, you know, access to the building, especially by public, would be difficult, but the townhouse, from what I understood, was in a reasonable state of repair and could be used to house the archives. Fundamentally, I'm not sure why this is the easiest thing to do. From the administration's perspective, this cannot be the path of least resistance. It's simply, there seems to be more to it. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be more to it. I think Councillor Fletcher also asked for advice from the opposition. Thanks for that. That's the first time in 3 years that we've been asked for advice, but you guys are you asked us to find out where we would fund it from. That's asking for advice, but we're not making the decisions, and we haven't led the council to this point. Neither would we have done. I think it's just a shame
that we've got 2 minutes left.
Thank you. I just think it's a shame that we've come to this position. We didn't need to be in this place, and the motion that has been proposed doesn't actually tie the council to anything in particular. It is just to look at it again and to be before we're absolutely certain that this is absolutely necessary, because I'm not convinced it is, and the members on this side are not convinced either. Because it's such an important vote, though, Madam Mayor, it has to be right that we have a named vote, and so I would like to ask the Chamber to consider a named vote on the item.
Do we have to vote on the named vote? Or do we just do it?
It's only a third, but Andrew will give us a nod. So all those in favour of named vote?
Yes, okay.
All those against? Any abstentions?
Yeah. All those in favour of a named vote? Yeah. Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I will call out...
Yeah, we go to the vote.
Yeah, no, I'll call out your names in alphabetical order. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to? Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. There's nothing much I can say, really. I think Councillor Clark, Councillor Allen, Councillor Lott, I think everybody's had their view. But, we've got to consider the people of Burton here. This is Burton Hope. This is a charity that's being displaced. Whether they move this week, next week, or in 6 months' time, 2 years, whatever, that's irrelevant, really, because we need to offer them the support now until they can find something that suits them. That's all I'm asking, and all I'm asking for the council to do is just take a pause. Take a step back, reconsider this. I'd like to see a report on all the buildings that they've been looking at, just to see why they are or why they're not able to accommodate the archives. Councillor Allen came up with a few buildings there that could be feasible to put those archives in. You know, we're not saying don't do this. We're just saying take a breath, take a pause, consider Burton Hope and give them the hope to stay where they are just for now until things can be sorted and the council have a chance to relook at something. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor George. Right, we'll go to the named vote now.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I'll call out your name in alphabetical order. If you could let me know if you're for, against or abstaining, I'd be very grateful. Councillor Afsar.
Against.
Councillor Allen. For. Councillor Bailey. Councillor Beach.
For.
Councillor Bullock. Councillor Chowdhury.
Against.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Against.
Councillor Fletcher.
Against.
Councillor Gaskin.
For.
Councillor George.
For.
Councillor Gould.
For.
Councillor Hadley.
Against.
Councillor Hawkins.
Against.
Councillor Holmes.
For.
Councillor Halton. Councillor Huckabee.
Against.
Councillor Hudson.
For.
Councillor Jones.
For.
Councillor Penny Krupski.
Against.
Councillor Juslov Krupski.
Against.
Councillor Legg.
Against.
Councillor Locke.
For.
Councillor Mansfield.
Against.
Councillor McKiernan.
Against.
Councillor Sankey.
For.
Councillor Shrive.
Against.
Councillor Slater.
Against.
Councillor Smedley. Councillor Kim Smith.
Against.
Councillor Louise Walker.
Against.
Councillor Paul Walker.
Against.
Councillor Colin Whittaker.
Abstain.
And Councillor Colin Wellman.
For.
To confirm the vote, councillors, that's 14 votes for, 19 against, and 1 abstention, so the motion is defeated.
Thank you, everyone. We will now go to item 11, and there are no questions have been received in advance of this meeting. Item 12, to agree the member to be elected of the 34th Mayor of the Borough of East Staffordshire, and on the annual council meeting on the 15th of May 2026. I invite the leader of the council to put forward the nomination.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great pleasure to put forward our current Deputy Mayor, Councillor Monica Holton.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Walker. Now we shall go to the vote. All those for? Any against? Thank you. You are now nominated as the Mayor on the 15th of May. Now we agree to the member to be elected for the 34th Deputy Mayor. I invite the leader of the council to put forward the nomination.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, a pleasure to put forward Councillor Arshad Afsar.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Huckabee. Now we will go to the vote. All those for? Is there any against? No? Thank you. That is carried. Congratulations. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you for attending this evening's meeting.